what was your question, sir?
My question was, I was here the first time, 4 years ago.
January 2014.
And I don't recall what you have been talking about today, which I consider have been considered very important.
Okay.
The possibility of referral. Kids write and express themselves as it was when we did it in our school. But then, if they were angry, they remain angry. So we finished by putting a list of teachers who are ready to speak to whoever wants to speak to them, because we wanted at least to have someone to listen to the prayer, if it's a prayer or a bad feeling or whatever, you know. Is that now established now, or has it been before without my noticing it?
It's always been that. So the question really is around when students are using some of the activities, it might bring strong emotions to the surface, feelings of anger or pain. For some students, things come to the surface in the prayer space. What happens next with those? And the gentleman was saying, impression was when we did the workshops before that we were kind of leaving it there. I've probably miscommunicated back then, because what I would always do in a class at the end of the lesson, having thanked all the students, thank you for coming, it was really great that you experienced some of these activities. Hopefully you can take some of these ideas into your everyday life. Maybe you've got some post-it notes or some cardboard or some stones at home that you might want to continue to use to reflect on things. If anything has come up today in the lesson that you want to talk to someone about, Father Ruben is here or your teacher is here, so if you want to talk to them, you can. So I would always do something like that, which is important, you're right, so that pastoral things are picked up. Having said that, I've been in quite a lot of classes where students have been in tears, where they've been upset about something, and I've learned now not to rush in, because tears are okay. It's okay to not be okay. I've watched students, young boys, young girls who've been in tears, being supported and cared for by their friends. If it's not spoiling if all the students are kind of rushing over, then you probably want to step in. But if there's a few other children, young people, looking after them, caring for them, continuing to do some activities together, great. What a great learning experience to be able to offer care and compassion to your friends and not always have to rely on an adult. My 14-year-old daughter, so my middle daughter Poppy is profoundly deaf. So she was born profoundly deaf. She's 19 now. There are things to do with her child where she feels angry at life and angry at God because she's deaf. She's still processing that. My 14-year-old daughter has a gift at being able to talk to my 19-year-old daughter. When Poppy, my 19-year-old, is really angry, really frustrated with college, angry at God, Angel seems to be able to peacemake. She seems to be able to get through to Poppy better than my wife and I. Sometimes children have the keys to one another. All the wisdom is not in the adults, is it? It's often in the children. So there are lots of ways I think that the pastoral care of children and young people can take place. It's not always the adults, but you're right, we need to make sure that adults are available to offer some support if the children and young people want it. Thank you for that. Anyone else got questions at this point? Wow. Is everybody doing okay? Is everyone awake? Yes.
The problem is that this is done once yearly. We've been doing it ever since we started prayer spaces.
Yeah.
This is the 4th year that we do it in the school. But we need to carry on with the thing. But the people who are involved in the team, they're just the pastoral team, the teachers of religion.
Okay.
In Malta we teach Catholic religion. And some students, they sometimes open up, but it's not always easy to because it's a yearly one-off sort of one-off event, and it's not always the children, they try to open up, but you don't have the time.
Yeah.
That's the problem in our
Yeah.
circumstance.
So the comment really is staff don't really have the time to offer ongoing support. That's one of the reasons why, as I said at the beginning of that first session, we found prayer spaces work best in the context of a relationship between school staff and some outside helpers, whether they are parents or priests or catechists or whoever it might be. And the team takes longer to form. For some, in Germany, for example, they're really struggling with this because they don't have the connections with local churches, but they're working really hard at it, and there have been a number of really good prayer spaces in Germany. It takes longer to build those teams, but I'm convinced that there's always people in your local community who would be willing to help if you invited them as schools. It might take 6 months to create a good team, but my advice would be take 6 months until you're happy you've got a really good team of volunteers to help you, then run your prayer space, because those volunteers will probably continue to help you, not just for that week, but they will probably continue to serve the life of your school, and that's what we want. The prayer space isn't the goal. The prayer space it's like learning a new language. It's giving children and young people some tools, hopefully, and giving a school some tools that they can continue to use in lots of other ways. But often the relationship is the place where that takes place. So I don't know how to solve that comment. Do you want to comment?
Yes. Every school obviously has its own particular circumstances.
Yeah.
In our case, I don't teach religion, I teach physics, but I'm also a guidance teacher and also a member of the pastoral team. So it's the pastoral team which we take care of prayer spaces. So we set it up as a team. And then we try, this year we're going to provide a link, for example, with ACTS. ACTS is an ongoing school project. It's been going on for the last 10 years. It's announcing Christ to schools. It's a team of young people. They've got nothing to do with, they're not directly linked to the schools, but they work with schools.
Yeah.
So what we did is we took one of the forms to ACTS. Now we will be doing a follow-up. In the evening we will have hopefully some of the pastoral team teachers will volunteer to accompany students who would like to go. So we're trying to provide a link, not directly related to parish or to the but to these groups. We've blessed in Malta, we have a lot of these youth groups. So that's the link we're doing. But the activity of prayer spaces is the stuff which is
yeah. And we are going to come back to this. This is one of the 3 questions that I want us to break into groups and look at, isn't it, a little bit later on. Yes, sir.
I appreciate very much that diagram that you showed us, and I think you were saying that you wrote a book about it.
I didn't write that. It was David Hay and Rebecca.
Yes. Those 4 areas of spirituality,
yeah.
No? Because I think I think we should know the name of the book and try to have it for us and for others, because coming to Malta you should have realized how religious we are, but it doesn't mean that we are spiritual. Our temptation is to exclude the first box.
Sure. Yeah.
But outside there, there is the tendency today of excluding the other side, you know? The God in spiritual, in the spiritual needs,
yes.
of a person, because it is there. There's a need,
yeah.
in the human being, the search for God.
Yeah.
So I think that that is very, very important for us. Thank you for sharing it, because I think that prayer spaces is a tool.
Yeah, that's right.
But it depends on my mentality how
Yeah.
to use the tool.
Absolutely.
If my mentality is right, I will use it rightly.
Yeah.
If my mentality is not right, to one extreme or to the other, I won't be using it right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, I agree with you, thank you. So in England, I lead the national team and I visit prayer spaces quite often. Most of them are fantastic. Sometimes I find, as you said, the prayer space is the tool, but it's not being used well. It's being used in a coercive, in a pushy way sometimes, and that's when I find I need to have a conversation with the team. Here's how to use this tool really well. It's a great tool, but you need to use it well. And that's why I would say the team is the key. The people using this tool are the most important. Yeah, a couple more questions quickly.
In our school we do it as a whole school,
Okay.
over a week, but
Yep.
the problem that the father just mentioned, the conflict between the religiosity with the cultural religion as opposed to the spirituality of the team.
Yeah.
We have teachers we start off with the team, so the team taking care of this,
Yeah.
so they are into it. But then when the other teachers are involved and they leave the class with the class teacher, because we are a primary school, and they enter and do the activities, and when big questions hurts and other things crop up, they have to leave the prayer space and you can't do nothing about it because
Yeah.
we are pressed with time and you feel helpless. But at the same time, I end up saying, but the way out of it is not doing
Yeah.
it. I have to leave it. It's not me who's doing the job, it's God ultimately. So,
Yes.
so if the hurt has cropped up, I believe
Yeah.
I'm just doing it and letting him do his part,
Yeah.
because you feel really helpless, but it's a struggle,
Yeah.
It's a struggle.
It is a struggle. There's a reason why the Holy Spirit is described as the counselor and the comforter. It's because the Holy Spirit is very good at this stuff. You know? And sometimes I think we're like, it's all right, Holy Spirit, I can do this one. You know? But you're right, there are definitely times where Holy Spirit has done some healing, has done some comforting, some counselling work that no adult has been involved with. So there are those times. I think, again, our experience is having a team of volunteers who are hosting the prayer space the whole time really helps. So when a class teacher comes and brings their class in, the class teacher then can take a step back, hand over to the 3 or 4 people from the parish or Acts team or whoever they are, who then take over and welcome the students, and they are there all the time. That really works for us. I know it's more challenging in some cultures and it might take some more thinking, but that's what's worked well. Yeah.
Having said what I have said before, we attach our prayer spaces with the penitential service, and we try to do it during the Lenten time, Lenten period. And so, since we're Roman Catholics, we teach Roman Catholic religion as well. We attach the confessor, the father, at the end of the walkthrough.
Sure.
So whoever wants to go and confess
Yeah.
has the the facility to have this help as well.
Fantastic. Is there anything you want to say about that? Okay, last question and then I'm going to do a little bit more input. Yes?
Linked to these questions, what models of follow-up do you have at least?
Follow-up. I'll tell you what, we're going to hold that question because I want us to think about that together right at the end. What next? You know, that's a really good question. Thank you for that one. Okay. So